All right, everyone, I just got my Amon to level 50 UVHM 5. He was the last character I played, and honestly, kind of the most fun. There's some crazy setups you can do, especially with some of his class mods, and the one I have for you today is very, very cool. So when you think of Amon, I think most people were kind of going to go the melee route, but what if I told you he has a companion setup, which, obviously with his Forgedrone skills, I think some people may have thought about that, but there is a class mod that just straight up makes him like a beastmaster in a way. It's really, really fun. And obviously me being at max ultimate Vault Hunter mode, it's also pretty effective. Like it can actually put out a good amount of damage. There are some downsides if like a boss is just kind of really fast. The drones can't get to him super quick. But for the most part, 90% of the game, the drones are actually putting in work. I had an absolute blast playing around with this build, and I think you all are going to love it as well. So if you are playing Amon, this is definitely one I would recommend giving a shot. And if you're not playing Amon, definitely be sure to check out the channel because I have a build up for every other Vault Hunter, and I also have a review if you're just kind of trying to figure out if you want to get the game or not. So definitely be sure to check out the channel if you enjoyed this video. I truly appreciate you clicking on it, and let's just jump right into it. All right, so first things first, let's start off just talking about the gear. So you can kind of run whatever weapons you want to. Nothing that really matters here as of yet. Again, I will probably update this build later down the line once I figure out all the gear in the game, because I'm sure there probably is some stuff that will work with it. But right now, the only thing that kind of matters that I have is just the class mod. So this is the Ember Blacksmith class mod. So it gets a kill skill, but it partially restores all of your Forge Drone's duration. For each active Forge Drone, Amon gains increased gun damage. So this is nice because now you can basically just keep these drones up forever. And if you look at the skills it provides, it is quite literally all three of the Forge Drone skills. So even if you didn't want to invest in them, which I do with this specific setup, you can still get them. And I think there will be some crazy setups to that. I'm going to test out some stuff a little bit later, but this class mod is very, very fun. It basically just makes you a beastmaster for Amon. And again, this also grants forge duration for at least the one I have. I'm pretty sure that one's permanent, and melee damage. But now let's actually get into these skills and talk about how this is going to work. So this is going to be one of the first times I just have everything in the green tree here. You could go into other trees if you would like to, but honestly, with this just being the companion build, I think going into the green's the best. So we are going to be taking crucibles so we can pull out our axes. The augment we're going to be taking is actually searing cold. The frost axes are going to freeze on impact, and the flame axes will pass through enemies. Literally just use the frost axe, I guess, unless someone's like an elemental eater or resistant to frost. Being able to just freeze is just so nice. Not only does it make enemies not shoot you, but it also just stops enemies in place, and all your drones can kind of just converge on this one target without them moving and just absolutely slay it. I can't even describe just how good searing cold is, and it's definitely one you want to take when you are using Crucible, at least with this specific setup. Now for the capstone, we are going to be running Snowball because we're just kind of invested down here. It's nice because it does do cryo damage. We're kind of playing into cryo a little bit here, but it can also just kind of ricochet. It's honestly pretty solid. But we also do have access to Storm Surge, but I would just recommend taking this because it does have a 30-second cooldown, because you are going to want to spam the slot for one of your skills, whereas this one has a 35-second. This one's just 5 seconds less. The main thing that comes for this build is all the other little skills, but don't get it twisted. Obviously, freezing enemies and stuff is still very, very good. But for the first skill, we are going to be taking Cast Iron, so Amon gains increased Forge skill, cooldown rate, and gun handling. So this is great because your Forge skill is going to be the Snowball here, so you actually are going to be able to spam that a lot more often to proc things like Tempered Pyre. So this is a Forge Drone skill. So now whenever Amon activates his Forge skill, aka your Snowball, it is going to spawn an Axe Forge Drone that will run around doing incinerate melee damage. If you activate a Forge skill while this is active, it will just fully restore the duration. But again, that doesn't matter too much because again, with our class mod, you are quite literally going to be able to keep this up forever, because any kill, even the kill that your Forge Drones get, can actually just reproc the timing. So it's going to be very, very good. But real quick, we also going to be taking Twin Emperors. So now it will spawn an additional Axe Forge Drone that does cryo melee damage, but it does actually reduce the duration of the drones. But again, that doesn't matter with the class mod. So now basically whenever you use your Snowball, you are spawning 2 axes that one does incinerate, one does cryo, that will just go around and melee people. And then to further play into those drones, I'm going to skip down here real quick. We're going to be taking Temper Ice, so whenever we activate our Ordnance, we make a Hammer Forge drone that does cryo melee damage. And then also we have Temper Lightning, so whenever we activate our action skill, we will make a sword forge drone that does shock damage. So essentially just using your ordnance, using your forge skill, using your action skill, which you're going to be doing anyway, you're going to just spawn these companions that go around and help you fight. It's honestly really nice that one's incendiary, one's shock, so you can kind of take out shields and flesh, and then cryo can deal with the armor. So you kind of have everything covered in that regard, which is really, really cool. But again, pairing this with the class mod, you don't even have to worry about the duration of these because they are literally going to stay up forever. Even in things like boss fights, since you can kill just kind of smaller enemies that spawn around the map, they last forever. Like they just straight up become companions that will follow you around and kill everything. It can be a little annoying at sometimes if they are attacking different things. You really want them just to attack the same thing. I wish there was a way you could command them, and maybe there is, and I just haven't found out how. But if I could actually just tell them to go attack a single target, that would be great. But even if they are attacking different things, you already still do so much more damage, because again, the class mod does actually grant you bonus damage the more drones you have out. So you're going to have 4 out all the time, so you're going to be getting the maximum benefit at all times. So you can actually do a lot of damage with this as well. So being able to freeze enemies with your crucible just so they can go on them, do a lot of damage. Again, having that lower cooldown on your snowball just so you can keep the durations up of your other forge drones. It is very, very solid, and you can basically just become this beastmaster, like I've said about 4 or 5 times in this video, and it's really, really fun. Now, of course, there are other skills that will help out with that can kind of just go into it. So we have masterwork, so your forge drones gain increased damage and duration. That's obviously good. And then we also have ordained hammers. So now your hammer, specifically forged drones, will deal ordnance damage in addition to the normal melee damage they were doing, and they have a chance to cause detonations dealing cryo damage. So now basically your hammer forge drones are just dealing even more damage, and they can cause explosions. It is only a 25% chance, but obviously if they're just kind of whacking away on one enemy over and over again, it will eventually happen. So just more damage is obviously very, very good. And then again, with masterwork, you are getting more damage and duration. Duration doesn't really matter too much, but the damage is good. Now over here in the other part of the skill tree, we can also take escalation. So our forge drones gain increased attack speed and movement speed. Obviously they can move around, get to a target faster, which is very good. Attack speed's also very good. But then we also will be taking homed point. So the forge drones have a chance to critically hit, and then if they do critically hit, a portion of your action skill is actually restored. And I cannot stress just how good this is. So with your crucible and the augment, again, you could just guarantee freezes. You can just throw these literally anywhere, and since you will freeze a target, your forge drones go just kind of kill that frozen target. They're critically hitting, you're getting your axe skill back. You could just have the battlefield constantly frozen at all times. Now when I played Harlow, I was saying how she was just by far the best crowd control character in the game, and while she is, I just want to say Amon was comparing to her at some points if you were getting these procs and these critical hits, because again, you could just throw so many freezing axes over and over again, and it is just so much fun. This skill is very good. It is definitely something you want to take advantage of, honestly, no matter what augment or axe skill you're running, because you could just use your axe skill quite a lot. And then the other final things to kind of help out with the build is that Amon just gains increased shock damage. I just kind of had to throw something in here to get out to the bottom, but I'm pretty sure this will actually buff the sword shock damage here, which is nice. And then also just blast furnace. So whenever us or our forge drones critically hit an enemy or cause a detonation, we gain increased damage dealt, and this stacks up. This is going to be really easy to stack up again because your forge drones are going to be up all the time. You're also just dealing damage. This is great because your class mod again also allows you to do more damage for every active forge drone. So again, it's not just your drone builds, you're also getting a lot of benefits with this as well. And then for the final points, I just threw them in permafrost here. So whenever Amon freezes an enemy, he will put a cryo hazard under them that will deal damage. Again, with searing cold, you could just freeze enemies all the time. So now you just have even bigger cryo AoE, which is nice. And again, kind of playing into cryo snowball. But the main thing is searing cold, you could just have these crazy cryo pools everywhere. Now for these specializations, honestly, there's nothing like too crazy here. There is one interaction, and that is going to be in the brute tree with CQC. So melee damage grants the Vault Hunter increased fire rate for a duration. So since your forge drones technically are doing melee damage, it will proc that. So you basically could just have a permanent 30% increased fire rate at all times, which is really cool. And since you are buffing your damage up with the other things we were just talking about, this is just very good to take. And because of that, taking riddle you this is also nice, because this just is basically the consecutive hits annoyance from Borderlands 3. Just dealing damage will just grant you stacks of gun damage, and it can go up to 50 times, so you can get 50% increased damage. It's really easy to stack up because of CQC. Those are very, very good. Now, I was just going over here and taking runner because I haven't tested it too much, but since this does increase melee damage, I'm not 100% sure if it will increase the forged drone damage, but obviously that's good if it does, because with bare arms, your gun damage bonuses will actually increase your melee damage, which may in tandem actually increase the forged drones. I did do a little bit more testing on that, but bullet train I just have on here because it's the only thing I have unlocked. I'm not exactly sure what are going to be the best specializations to take. I know for sure CQC is just very, very good because of the synergies, but I do want to talk a little bit real quick about that. Is since these again are technically counted as melee damage, what I was saying earlier, you may be able to spec into a more like melee focus setup. You know, Amon gains melee critical hit chance, so I guess maybe your forged drones could critically hit, since the class mod itself is already granting the forged drone skills. If you do get this like specific role, maybe you can get one that doesn't have it, but if you have one with all three, you should potentially be able to play into other melee based stuff. Again, that'll be for a different video. I just kind of want to tease it right here because it could be pretty good depending on how it works. But regardless of all that, if you're just playing into pure companion, you want to make them do as much damage as possible, this is a super fun setup, not only for your axe skill, but also just being able to kill everything with all your minions. But when I saw that class item drop, I just knew that this is 100% what I was going to do. It's funny because I played Vex to begin with, and I didn't even use her companion build at all, but then I played a character that didn't seemingly have like a super companion setup, and now I'm playing his companion setup. So I definitely want to go back and test Vex and stuff out now because this is honestly pretty good, and it's also a ton of fun. So definitely expect to see a ton of build videos coming up. With all that being said, there's so much stuff I need to test out. Again, all of these are just my very first just level 50 UVHM 5 builds. I guess you could call them leveling builds if you're just trying to get to max. If you want to use these, they definitely do work. They're a ton of fun. I also just kind of want to showcase gameplay, high level gameplay, and hope y'all enjoyed watching this. And if you haven't seen the other characters, definitely be sure to give them the watch. And if you want to see a review for the game, you probably don't if you're already watching this video, definitely be sure to check out my review as well. Anyway, so that's going to do it all for me. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope y'all have a great day. Peace.